How are you communicating with your customers? Is everybody rowing in the same direction? If the answer is, I don't know, or I'm not big enough as a company, that's a problem. You should know. Whether you're a one-man band or you have 700 employees, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you prioritize that customer experience. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Welcome back to this week. We're going to unpack the episode that I just did last time with Kevin Scott over there in Muskoka Landscapers. They're doing some crazy stuff. If you haven't listened to my podcast episode from a couple of years back, go back and look for his name. He talks all about how they do these amazing projects on islands, and just it's incredible what they can do. It really stretches your mind for the possibility of what outdoor living can be. So good. So one thing that did come up during our last episode, and if you haven't listened to that one, that's just the last one we had there where we talk about his sales system, is he came up with this, and we were talking about how he changed the way that he presents his proposals now, especially for projects without designs or even with projects with designs. But the idea here is that if you're the kind of contractor that says, look, I know what Mrs. Jones wants, I provided a proposal and I emailed it to her, I'm done, I'm going to move on to the next project, you're missing a massive opportunity here. And what I mean by that, and you hear this all the time on the podcast, we need to serve less people and go deeper. That's the premise of all of this. We have to think about the relationships, not just the revenue. If you can shift your heart or shift your head from revenue to your heart relationship, everything changes in how you approach your clients. And that's the cool part about this. You and I both can make that shift. All of us can, as long as we are conscious about it. Once we become aware that we're in our heads just for revenue because we got bills to pay, and we shift that to our heart and trust, you'd be amazed by what happens when you start really fostering relationships. And what I mean by that, I want to go deeper into a couple of options you can integrate right away in order to get better closing rates with your when you're sending out proposals. Again, if you're the kind of person that just says, okay, proposal's done, you're in Synced Up or in QuickBooks, wherever you're using, you just click send, and then you wait a week and reach out and say, oh, this is a follow-up, Mrs. Jones, how you doing? Did you see my proposal? What do you think? Do you want to move forward? If that's your process, then you've got a lot of work you can do that's really kind of simple in order to fix that process, to make it more sticky for your customers. So I'm going to go through a couple of options like that with you today. So the first, it's probably common sense, but first is stop doing that. Stop sending out proposals via email with nothing else attached, no other context, nothing. And make sure, I'm going to hit this before we get into the other piece. Make sure that when you're sending out proposals, you're not sending out proposals that are, let's say, patio, 10 by 16, X amount of dollars, fire pit, 4 by 4, X amount of dollars. Give them some detail. Remember, you've heard it 100 times here. We have to set expectations. If you have such simple proposals sending to clients, if you're sending them with just simple brackets of roughly what it is, because to you, it makes perfect sense. It's what you do all the time. But to a client, they feel like they're getting less, even if your proposal is equal or better to a competitor's. And they've actually listed all the value that they're going to bring, whether it's the base underneath that patio, whether it's the material used in that fire pit, whether there's lots and lots of detail. That detail is what we call value stacking. And you're value stacking your proposal because the client's like, well, it might be $18,000 for this patio, but look, it includes all this stuff. Versus patio, $18,000, and they feel like I'm getting less, even if you're giving more than a competitor who has a more detailed proposal. Plus, with a more detailed proposal, you have something to go back to, because I sure hope they're signing those proposals when they accept the project and give you a deposit. When they sign it, now you have something to go back and say, look, Mrs. Jones, you point to it and like, look, it said right here that we're not fixing the lawn. And you sign this when she says the lawn should have been included, right? You have something to go back, but without detail, you're not going to have any of that. So I say that first and foremost, make sure your proposals are detailed, because that detail is value, and that value helps turn the client from I don't know to yes, I'm moving forward. That's a simple thing you can do that'll help boost your closing rate immediately. Second, if you want to up this one more level and take it to the next level, don't just send the proposal. Either go there in person and walk through the problem or the problem with the proposal with them step by step. That's one option, but that's very time consuming. Still not a bad idea. Make sure that they can ask questions, answer questions, all that stuff in real time. Second option is like what Kevin was talking about. He'll actually send the proposal, and then go to a Zoom and say, let's walk through it. Because here's what happens. Customers get the proposal. Hopefully by now they have a good idea of what budget should be. So that should not be a surprise. And if it is a surprise, reach out to me. You can book a call in the show notes, and we can talk to you about how to set those expectations early so that when they get the proposal, it's not a shock to them on what it should cost. That needs to be discovered very early in your relationship to make sure you're a good fit. So assuming they already know that, they look at it and there shouldn't be a whole lot of shock, but there are going to be questions. And if you give them a proposal and let them look at it, and now all of a sudden these questions come up, what do you think happens in their mind? When they see all these questions, they start coming up like, all right, well, I don't know if I'm making the right decision on this material, or maybe this is too high or too big or too long or too green, whatever it might be. They start getting these ideas in their head, and they do it. Oftentimes it's done subconsciously. They don't even know. And it starts to build up a fear. And when that fear comes in, they start to think, no, I can't do this. This is an unsolvable problem right now, and I don't know what to do about it. So I'm going to shut down, which means either put this on the back burner and give you a false yes. Yeah, we're still thinking about it. Or they go with somebody else that can give them the surety. Remember, we talk about certainty and uncertainty, to give them that certainty that it is the right path forward. If you have no way of being there for them to hold their hand through that, either being on site or through some kind of virtual way, the client is left to their own devices. And you know what? We're here to serve people. And what we don't want them to do is go into a fear spiral about stuff when just a gentle word or guidance from you could make all the difference. So you can do a Zoom. If you send that proposal over, you can do a Zoom with them, and they would be able to walk through and voice their concerns as their itty bitty, minute, almost invisible problems. Because the longer a problem festers, the bigger it gets in their head. So if you can hit it right away in the beginning and say, all right, well, you know what? I'm not really sure if that's the right paver for the style of my house. You can be there to guide them on that and guide them either toward or away from it. That's fine. But what we don't want to do is give them a week to have that fester and fester and fester and go from the size of a BB to the size of a boulder in their head. And then all of a sudden the next guy comes in and he's even more money than you. And he's answered that question. He's been there to hold their hand, and they go with them, even though your idea was more of what they needed. I hope you're feeling me here. This is important. Less people, deeper relationships. Next option you have is to grab another software out there. So Zoom is one option. Loom is another one. Starts with an L. And here you can actually put your proposal up or your design, and you can screen record yourself talking about it step by step. And this helps the client unpack all this stuff. Because if you're doing your proposals right, and I know most of you are, that means you have a lot of detail in your proposals. And that detail needs a little bit of explanation at times. The client needs to know you're vested in this project too, not just handing them a proposal and they got to keep their fingers crossed. That's a lot of faith. And to be honest with you, it's tough because we're still considered contractors, and the level for contractor trust is very low in most people, whether we like it or not, whether we are that or not, it doesn't matter. It's still part of their subconscious wiring that they can't trust us. So we need to build trust beyond what we think they need so that they know that we are in this to win this with them. Again, less people, deeper relationships. So I hope you guys learned something here. I know that I love that Kevin's doing that. We also do that process as well to make sure our clients get the kind of connection that they need, the assurance that they need that they're making the right decision, and not just handing them a bunch of information via a design or via a proposal and then just letting them figure it up and then do that whole follow-up train that never works, right? The one that you follow for months, and eventually they change their number and they just don't talk to you anymore. And they keep telling you yes every time, but that's BS and we know it. That is absolutely a false yes that they're giving you. So if you want to avoid that false yes and you want to build stronger relationships, which in the future, if we're thinking future pace here, actually give you the opportunity for a lot more referral work. Because remember, it's not about what your client sees at the end that's important. It's how you made them feel during the process. If you can make them feel powerful, if you can make them feel heard and listened to and the hero of this story, they're going to tell all their friends about that. And in that gives you nice, warm leads coming in the door, those referrals that want to do the same thing that Mrs. Jones did. And you know what? Those can be some of your very, very best clients because they don't have those walls put up in the front that say all contractors suck. They have the wall that's been taken down because their friends, somebody they know, like, and trusted you, had a great experience because you made them feel something. And next thing you know, they're calling you because you know what? You already have a much higher level in their mind The next 2 or 3 guys they have coming in to give them proposals have a very, very low level of trust for them. So you're already starting off at a massive advantage to the other guys. Now it's just a matter of replicating that experience over and over again, so that just because Mrs. Jones had that experience doesn't mean that Mrs. Brown has that experience too. So that's where systems and processes are absolutely critical here. If you don't have a sales process and system that you can deliver over and over and over again, that customer experience, and you can't do it purposely every time and you're shooting off the hip each and every week, this will not last. Because sometimes you'll win and sometimes you'll lose. Sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose. And the problem is the market gets confused. Are they really good or are they just lucky? When you can get really good at delivering that same experience over and over and over and over again, because you have a system that is bolted into your company, that is the operating system of your company, like your phone, right? It has an operating system, the same thing inside of your company. How are you communicating with your customers? Is everybody rowing in the same direction? If the answer is, I don't know, or I'm not big enough as a company, that's a problem. You should know. And whether you're a one-man band or you have 700 employees, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you prioritize that customer experience, because that, my friends, is what's going to make the next deal much quicker, faster, and simpler to move through into your pipeline. But you need to be able to consistently deliver those incredible experiences to customers, because that's what we're in, everybody. We're in the hospitality industry. We're in an industry where we have to provide a great customer experience. It's not just about building backyards anymore. That might have worked 20 years ago. It doesn't work now. There's too many choices out there, and they can pick the one that they feel is the right decision for them. And they have the choice to do that. And hopefully that's you. So if you need help with that, reach out to us. You can book a call down in the show notes. We have a step-by-step sales process that'll help you do that each and every time. You don't have to spend years trying to figure it out on your own. It's already done for you. We train through it, you implement it, and you see the fruit. All right, guys. Talk to you next week.